This is Deuteronomy 28. Moses is done reciting the law to the assembled crowd. Now he's transitioning into an explanation of why they should pay attention to it. What difference does it make? We'll read 14 verses and comment. Verse 1, It shall happen if you shall listen diligently to Yahweh your God's voice, to observe to do all his commandments which I command you today, that Yahweh your God will set you high above all the nations of the earth. All these blessings will come upon you and overtake you if you listen to Yahweh your God's voice. You shall be blessed in the city, and you shall be blessed in the field. You shall be blessed in the fruit of your body, the fruit of your ground, the fruit of your animals, the increase of your livestock, and the young of your flock. Your basket and your kneading trough shall be blessed. You shall be blessed when you come in and blessed when you go out. You will cause your enemies who rise up against you to be struck before you. They will come out against you one way and will flee before you 7 ways. Yahweh will command blessing on your barns and in all that you put your hand to. He will bless you in the land which Yahweh your God gives you. Yahweh will establish you for a holy people to himself, as he has sworn to you, if you shall keep his commandments of Yahweh your God and walk in his ways. All the peoples of the earth shall see that you are called by Yahweh's name, and they will be afraid of you. Yahweh will grant you abundant prosperity in the fruit of your body, in the fruit of your livestock, and in the fruit of your ground in the land which Yahweh swore to your fathers to give you. Yahweh will open to you his good treasure in the sky to give the rain of your land in its season and to bless all the work of your hand. You will lend to many nations and you will not borrow. Yahweh will make you the head and not the tail. You will be above only and you will not be beneath, if you will listen to the commandments of Yahweh your God, which I command you today, to observe and to do, and shall not turn away from any of the words which I command you today, to the right hand or to the left, to go after other gods to serve them. Comment. Verse 1, Yahweh will bless Israel if they listen and obey. As we're about to read, he'll curse them if they don't. What does it mean to be blessed? Yahweh will give them peace, safety, prosperity, and abundance. Verse 9, Yahweh says he'll establish them as a holy people to himself. Holy means belonging to Yahweh. Holiness is about ownership. If Yahweh takes ownership of a person, place, or thing, it's holy. For example, the tithe is holy because it belongs to Yahweh. The ground at the burning bush was holy because God claimed it. And the nation of Israel will be holy as long as Yahweh keeps claiming them, and he'll keep claiming them as long as they obey. Verse 10, they'll have such power and respect among the nations that everyone everywhere will know it's beyond anything natural. The nations will recognize the supernatural hand of Yahweh on them and be afraid of them. Psalm 144:15, quote, How blessed are the people whose God is the Lord, end quote. So we just read 14 verses about listening and doing the law and the blessings associated with it. It's simple. Everything will be great. But now come 54 verses about not listening to the law. And why are there only 14 verses about the blessings of obedience and 54 verses about the curses of disobedience? It's because prosperity is easy to understand and explain, but when there's disobedience, it's hard to describe just how bad things can be. Verse 15. But it shall come to pass, if you will not listen to Yahweh your God's voice, to observe to do all his commandments and his statutes, which I command you today, that all these curses will come upon you and overtake you. You will be cursed in the city, and you will be cursed in the field. Your basket and your kneading trough will be cursed. The fruit of your body, the fruit of your ground, the increase of your livestock, and the young of your flock will be cursed. Comment, the fruit of your body is your children. They'll be cursed along with the crops and livestock. Verse 19, You will be cursed when you come in, and you will be cursed when you go out. Yahweh will send on you cursing, confusion, and rebuke in all that you put your hand to do, until you are destroyed, and until you perish quickly because of the evil of your doings by which you have forsaken me. Comment, the cursing will keep on until they're destroyed and finished. Coming up, pestilence is a type of disease that spreads from one person to another until it affects large numbers of people. Verse 21, Yahweh will make the pestilence cling to you until he has consumed you from off the land where you go in to possess it. Yahweh will strike you with consumption, with fever, with inflammation, with fiery heat, and with the sword, with blight, and with mildew. They will pursue you until you perish. Your sky that is over your head will be like brass, and the earth that is under you will be like iron. Yahweh will make the rain of your land powder and dust. It will come down on you from the sky until you are destroyed. Comment, a brass sky doesn't produce rain, and an iron earth won't produce crops. The sky will rain dust, but not water. Verse 25, Yahweh will cause you to be struck before your enemies. You will go out one way against them and will flee 7 ways before them. You will be tossed back and forth among all the kingdoms of the earth. Comment, tossed back and forth among the nations means first one nation will dominate them, then another. Verse 26, your dead body will be food to all the birds of the sky and to the animals of the earth, and there will be no one to frighten them away. Yahweh will strike you with the boils of Egypt, with the tumors, with the scurvy, and with the itch of which you cannot be healed. Yahweh will strike you with madness, with blindness, and with astonishment of heart. Comment, astonishment of heart means it's going to be very hard to believe how bad things have gotten. They're getting advance warning right now, so there shouldn't be any surprise when all this happens, but either they didn't believe the warning or they never read it at all. Verse 29, you will grope at noonday as the blind gropes in darkness, and you shall not prosper in your ways. You will only be oppressed and robbed always, and there will be no one to save you. You will betroth a wife, and another man shall lie with her. You will build a house, and you won't dwell in it. You will plant a vineyard and not use its fruit. Your ox will be slain before your eyes, and you will not eat any of it. Your donkey will be violently taken away from before your face and will not be restored to you. Your sheep will be given to your enemies, and you will have no one to save you. Your sons and your daughters will be given to another people. Comment, foreigners will take their children as slaves. Going on, your eyes will look and fail with longing for them all day long. There will be no power in your hand. Comment, that means there will be no power in their hand to return their children to themselves. Verse 33, a nation which you don't know will eat the fruit of your ground and all of your work. Comment, nations they didn't even know existed will come and raid all their food stores and anything else of value. Going on, you will only be oppressed and crushed always, so that the sights you see with your eyes will drive you mad. Yahweh will strike you in the knees and in the legs with a sore boil, of which you cannot be healed, from the sole of your foot to the crown of your head. Comment, this is a supernatural cursing. Foreigners aren't striking them with this disease, Yahweh is. Verse 36, Yahweh will bring you and your king whom you will set over yourselves to a nation that you have not known, you nor your fathers. There you will serve other gods of wood and stone. Comment, now it's not just the children. Other nations have taken the adults and even the king into foreign captivity. Verse 37, you will become an astonishment, a proverb, and a byword among all the peoples where Yahweh will lead you away. Comment, the name of Israel will conjure up images of total failure and disaster. Verse 38, you will carry much seed out into the field and will gather little in, for the locusts will consume it. You will plant vineyards and dress them, but you will neither drink of the wine nor harvest, because worms will eat them. You will have olive trees throughout all your borders, but you won't anoint yourself with oil, for your olives will drop off. You will father sons and daughters, but they will not be yours, for they will go into captivity. Locusts will consume all of your trees and the fruit of your ground. The foreigner who is among you will mount up above you higher and higher, and you will come down lower and lower. He will lend to you, and you won't lend to him. He will be the head, and you will be the tail. Comment, the person who borrows is the tail and not the head. Verse 45, all these curses will come on you and will pursue you and overtake you until you are destroyed, because you didn't listen to Yahweh your God's voice to keep his commandments and his statutes, which he commanded you. They will be for a sign and for a wonder to you and to your offspring forever. Comment, sign and wonder means miracle. Things are going to be so bad that there's no way one thing after another would go wrong like this. No way things could have gotten this amazingly bad unless it were a supernatural curse. Sooner or later they'll figure that out. They'll realize that all these curses are a sign from God. Verse 46, notice the word forever. This writing that this Deuteronomy passage that we're reading here will survive for all time. so that these curses may be read for all time, and Israel will eventually figure it out. Verse 47. Because you didn't serve Yahweh your God with joyfulness and with gladness of heart by reason of the abundance of all things. Comment, notice the importance of serving with joy and gladness. This reflects an understanding of the blessings and curses. If we understand blessings and curses, we're going to be more than glad to serve, the same way we're more than glad to do the work of spooning food on our plates. If we do what Yahweh says, it's like spooning food on our plates, like feeding ourselves, so we're glad to do it. Verse 48, Therefore you will serve your enemies whom Yahweh sends against you in hunger and thirst and nakedness and in lack of all things. He will put an iron yoke on your neck until he has destroyed you. Yahweh will bring a nation against you from afar, from the end of the earth, as the eagle flies, a nation whose language you will not understand. Comment, this sounds like the Babylonians. The surrounding nations will attack Israel in the future, but the Babylonians will come from a long way off and decimate them. Going on about the Babylonians, they'll be completely heartless. Verse 50, a nation of fierce facial expressions that doesn't respect the elderly nor show favor to the young, and they will eat the fruit of your livestock and the fruit of your ground until you are destroyed. They also won't leave you grain, new wine, or oil, the increase of your livestock or the young of your flock, until they have caused you to perish. Comment, now coming up, the horrors of the siege. Foreign armies will surround their walled cities and starve them out. Verse 52, they will besiege you in all your gates until your high and fortified walls come down in which you trusted throughout all your land. They will besiege you in all your gates throughout all your land which Yahweh your God has given you. You will eat the fruit of your own body, the flesh of your sons and of your daughters, whom Yahweh your God has given you, in the siege and in the distress with which your enemies will distress you. Comment, they'll eat the fruit of their own bodies, their children, in other words. What type of parents would eat their children? Coming up, it's not the type you think. Verse 54, the man who is tender among you and very delicate, his eye will be evil toward his brother, toward the wife whom he loves, and toward the remnant of his children whom he has remaining, so that he will not give to any of them of the flesh of his children whom he will eat, because he has nothing left to him in the siege and in the distress with which your enemy will distress you in all your gates. The tender and delicate woman among you, who would not venture to set the sole of her foot on the ground for delicateness and tenderness, her eye will be evil toward the husband that she loves, toward her son, toward her daughter, toward her young one who comes out from between her feet, and toward her children whom she bears, for she will eat them secretly for lack of all things in the siege and in the distress with which your enemy will distress you in your gates. Comment, even the most tender and delicate man will eat his children and hide it from his wife, and the tender and delicate wife will do the same because they're so hungry they don't want to share the children with each other. Verse 58, if you will not observe to do all the words of this law that are written in this book, that you may fear this glorious and fearful name, Yahweh your God. Comment, the name of God is glorious on the one hand and fearful on the other, because he'll bless on the one hand and curse on the other. Those of us who have understood and entered into the blessing don't worry about the curse. Verse 59, then Yahweh will make your plagues fearful, and the plagues of your offspring, even great plagues and of long duration, and severe sicknesses and of long duration. He will bring on you again all the diseases of Egypt which you were afraid of, and they will cling to you. Also every sickness and every plague which is not written in the book of this law, Yahweh will bring them on you until you are destroyed. You will be left few in number, even though you are as the stars of the sky for multitude, because you didn't listen to Yahweh your God's voice. It will happen that as Yahweh rejoiced over you to do good and to multiply you, so Yahweh will rejoice over you to cause you to perish and to destroy you. You will be plucked from the land that you are going in to possess. Comment, note well the nature of God that's not preached very much today. He rejoices to bless, that's preached. He also rejoices to curse, that's not preached. He does desire all men to come to salvation. He desires it desperately. That's why he sets the blessing and curse before us and why Moses is pleading with the people. But after God's abundant patience and loving kindness runs out, there's only one option left for him to restore right order, and he rejoices in restoring that order. Verse 64, Yahweh will scatter you among all peoples from one end of the earth to the other end of the earth. There you will serve other gods which you have not known, you nor your fathers, even wood and stone. Among these nations you will find no ease, and there will be no rest for the sole of your foot. But Yahweh will give you there a trembling heart, failing of eyes, and pining of soul. Your life will hang in doubt before you. You will be afraid night and day, and will have no assurance of your life. In the morning you will say, I wish it were evening, and at evening you will say, I wish it were morning, for the fear of your heart which you will fear, and for the sights which your eyes will see. Comment, now we come to the last verse of the chapter and a very specific prophecy, verse 68. Yahweh will bring you into Egypt again with ships, by the way of which I told you that you would never see it again. There you will sell yourselves to your enemies for male and female slaves, and nobody will buy you. Comment, this took place when the Roman Emperor Titus destroyed Jerusalem, according to the ancient historian Josephus, in Wars of the Jews, Book 6, Chapter 9, Paragraph 2. Quote, he put them into bonds and sent them into Egyptian mines, end quote. Josephus doesn't specifically say the Romans transported them in ships, but he does mention that the Romans used ships to transport soldiers during the same time period. That's the chapter. Deuteronomy 29 is next at landofhavilah.net. Deuteronomy 29.